And as always, a Ticat Tuesday, but this time the head coach and one of my favorites. And, the one thing, as you heard a week beforehand, Dane talking about it, the team and the room still together. And as little as maybe people think about that, I mean, people don't think about that you have to have fun and there's certain personal things that once you play pro football, it's just only about the winning. I can tell you that it's not. And someone who understands that is their head coach, Orlondo Steinauer. Coach O, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing great, Mike. Thanks for having me on, man.
Well, I got to also tell you too, the one thing that I did talk last week to Dane about is I said, I understand how coaching works in professional football. So when you start winning, when you start getting, a bit of a buzz about what you do with the program, sometimes you don't stay. And so in my good friend, Jim Lawson, I was kind of worried that maybe Coach O was not going to be staying in Canada because it's conceivable that, you could go back out to the Pacific Northwest. You could end up, all of a sudden you're at Montana State, because that's kind of how the business is. So first of all, I'm glad I'm seeing your face, because at one point I'm thinking, someone's going to get him. He's not staying. And here you are. So first of all, I'm glad you stayed.
Thank you. No, I appreciate it. Yes, it's nice when you have some options sometimes, but also, it's nice to have security and to build something sustainable and do it in one spot.
Well, it's certainly the kind of season, the way it's gone so far. As we've said, it could be 2-2, easily 2-2, but this is not a football club that is fixating on being 500. That's not the goal. So it's the goal is more in trying to stay with it, stay with the program and get this team back to the championship level that it's groomed to be. So it's, instead of people sort of arguing about what happens, and look, the fourth quarters, I mean, that's to me, that's just a mental thing. So how did, as I said, very rarely is it you don't have the right players. Very rarely is it that physically you can't do the tasks that are in front of you. It has to do more with goes on between the ears. That's what that kind of stuff is. So what are the kinds of things that you've done to address getting guys to, execute and focus on doing what they did in the first half and have them do it in the second half?
Well, I think first thing is you don't avoid it. You attack it. You address the elephant in the room, and you make sure that they understand that, we are in football games. We're starting fast. We're playing decent ball throughout the third, and we just haven't got it done in the fourth. Now, that's the keen sense of the obvious. The challenge is what do you do in practice that can simulate that? And the answer is not a whole lot, right? And I think what you're saying has quite a bit to do with it. It is between the ears and that sort of thing. The football is always going to come down to execution, right? You can make play calls, and some calls are better than other calls, absolutely. But at the end of the day, the players make plays, and the plays don't make themselves. And it does come down to execution. So yeah, we can do our part as coaches, which to me is preparation. And the preparation starts not just on the field, but in the meeting rooms. And it's making sure that, we have continuity, and that remains. And that's a tough thing to do in the sport of football, because you're dealing with so many bodies. And so we kind of have a little mantra here that we want to do foundation before function. And it's for times like this, because the one thing that you are guaranteed in life and football is adversity. So if that's the case, we ought to be focusing on adversity responses. And that's always going to start with having the right mindset. So yeah, are there tangible things in practice we do? Do we, if there's a penalty, are we emphasizing it? Are we, is there a quote unquote consequence for it? For sure. Are we, interceptions and those things can happen. Fumbles rarely happen in practice. They just do. And we've been bit by the bug a little bit, but we're emphasizing ball security. We're doing drills. You're doing things that, everybody would think that you would do. And, there's a few things obviously added that we can do as coaches to maybe eliminate or not put players in certain situations.
Well, also to the breadth of experience, to me, always speaks to these situations. And in talking with Dane, I said, I mean, being a ball boy for your dad all those years, I mean, you've seen this. I know you've seen this. He goes, so he started talking about this one particular team his dad had that ran into trouble at the academy, right? So he's going way back to this team that was trying to win, state and so on. But for you, with all that pro ball, I mean, there must be something, or one season or a series of games where you've seen this before, you've felt this before, you know how to get out of it, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I've been in it as a player, and I've been in it as a coach. Specifically, if you want to talk about a championship season, though some may not remember that in Toronto in 2012, we were in the middle third of the season. We were actually 1-5, and and we didn't. I think we might have finished that season at 9-9, and got hot and rode the wave. And of course, you got to have great quarterback play, and Ricky did that for us down the stretch. So that would be a tangible example of why I'm shaking my head. Yes, I do agree with your statement. And then, as a player, I've went from a 2-16 team in 1997, and now everybody just tuned out now. And then in 1998, we flip it around, and I think we're 13-5 or something like that, 13-5. And so you can turn things around. That's the beautiful thing about the CFL that I really enjoy. You start maybe 0-4 in the NFL. You start 0-4 in the NCAA and with hopes to, be in the top 10. I don't know. And this league affords you a chance to get it right. And the reality is right now the East is struggling. Great for us. We're a game out of first place. That's the reality. Now, does that excuse anything? No, but that's what we're dealing with. If we were dealing with a division leader that was 4-0, a different set of circumstances.
Yeah, completely. I mean, that's the CFL game. We watch it long enough, you always realize, even when they had those 2 games in the home and home, like semifinals that they did, and I've been to a bunch of those in Hamilton at one point. This is during the Mike Kerrigan. This was the '86 team, and they actually were down after playing Ivor Wynne, which that never happened. And Toronto was up by like 30 points, and then they go back to awful exhibition stadium, and people are chucking snowballs, and it's funny, they score first, so it's like, I don't know, they're down like almost 35 points. I don't know what it was, but it was bad. But there was a punt situation, punt formation, and I think it might have been Hank Olisic or Zen Anderson. Like I get confused over the years, but it sails over his head, and this Argo fan who I'm sitting beside looks at me and goes, "Oh God, here it comes." Right there, even though it was one play, and guess what? That's exactly what happened. That Keith Baker and all these guys, that might have been Derek McAdoo. I'm trying to think of all the guys on that team. All of a sudden, the switch goes off, and that was one game. And here's the other thing about your stories: when you go from like 3-13 to back to all those years, rarely is it wholesale personnel changes. For the most part, I guarantee you, when those seasons changed around, the players were exactly the same. The players stayed the same.
Yeah, and I think that really rings true for the defensive side of the ball. For that 97 team to the 98 team, the defensive side stayed the same. I think we had a few holdovers like Archie Amerson, maybe Val St. Germain, and Mike Moriali. But there was quite a few changes on offense, but the defense nucleus was intact, and we just kind of picked up, and you add in, it doesn't hurt when you sprinkle in a little McManus and Flutie. that always gives you a little bit of gusto. Yeah. But it just shows you that you can flip things in a hurry. There wouldn't have been anybody bet on a 2-16 team the year before to be dominant. I think we were like 7-2 at Labor Day or something like that. So there's lots of optimism and positivity. And the reason some of that is there's those tangible examples that you can see and touch, and you study history to learn those things, but also between the walls, right? When the vibe in the building, the way everybody's coming to work, the way they're going to meetings, the coach's commitment, the therapists, we just haven't reaped the rewards. I know it's about wins and losses, 100%, totally get it. But if you are losing on the field and it's in disarray behind the walls, that's when you end up having disaster. And I just don't feel that.
No, it's funny, jokingly. So Danny McManus and I have our birthdays on the same day. So Danny and I go back at each other, and he said something, I don't know, publicly on Facebook or something, said, happy birthday, buddy, blah, blah, blah. And I didn't say anything back. So he says, what's this all about? I said publicly, I said, happy birthday. I said, look, buddy, not everyone makes the team. I'm sorry. Not everyone makes the cut. And he gives that. There's a Danny McManus face that he's had his whole career And if the camera was on him, you wouldn't know if he just scored the winning touchdown or the team just gave up the losing touchdown. You could never tell with him. He was even keeled. You couldn't knock him off his game. And this is kind of that mental thing that we're talking about with this team currently right now. That's kind of what you want. Or you don't want to see the coaching staff throwing their clipboards down because there was a fumble. I mean, and you guys don't, and you won't, and you wouldn't, because as you said, losing on the field's one thing, but losing off the field is much worse.
It really is. And we take pride in that. And, it's never hard. We don't suppress emotions. Is there frustrations and those things? Absolutely. But there's not division. Big difference.
Yeah, a huge difference. And that's why this team will make it all the way through and go right back to where they want to be. And probably it's going to be Winnipeg or tangling with those guys again. They looked awfully good a couple of weeks ago.
They did. They're looking good.
Yeah. And Nathan Rourke, who I'm absolutely not surprised at what he's doing. He's a great talent. He's a great find and did well at Ohio. And so he's just one of the reasons why I love Canadian football, love where the guys come from, love what we can do. No one knows more than that than you do. So, hey, we're looking forward to more of a great season. It's great to see you. It's been a while.
Yeah.
COVID.
That was the last time.
Yeah. Internet outages, hurricanes. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. Is where the station lost power like an hour and a half ago. I don't know. Maybe God's mad that we're 0-4. This is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Am I saying God's a Ticat fan? Yes, I am. Yes.
Absolutely.
Hey, you take care, my friend. Hopefully we'll get a chance to talk to you again soon sometime.
Thanks. I'll look forward to the next time. Thanks, Mike.
And there it is. So we'll put this in the can, Orlondo. But it's great to see you. I'm just thrilled. I know the guys are a little anxious probably to get the game going because but Dane said, off. He said he thought the week off was good for these guys. He thought the week off was really good.
I agree. I think it was at the right time. You don't want ever messaging to get stale or the same routine, and it just kind of naturally there was a natural break there. So I think that was awesome. But then there's a time when you're like, okay, enough of thinking about what's gone wrong. Let's get out from these walls and get on the field. So that's what was awesome about yesterday.
Yeah, I'd love to see, for him, some points in that fourth quarter, because I know that's we talked about that a little bit too. And I said, it's not the players. The last thing it is about, well, we got to change, the fans, right? Oh, we got to change this. We got to throw in this guy. Go, well, that's from non-professionals who just really don't know the sport. That's not what you do.
Yeah.
And you have the right guys. You have the right, and Dane, for me, as when he was, taking it so hard at the end of last game, right? It's very demonstrative, very public, because that's who he is. He has his heart on his sleeve. And I think, would I rather see that, or the guy just shrugs his shoulders, shakes hands with everybody else and just walks off the field like it wasn't a big deal? I don't mind that my players can't literally handle losing.
Right.
I'd rather see that than the chewing the bubble gum and gets back in his Ferrari and he goes to his private helicopter and they go get cheese in France.
I love it. I love it. Well, hey, Mike, I don't mean to overstep here or anything, but it was brought to my attention that you might be getting a procedure or something.
Last one. Yes.
None of my business or anything, but just want you to know I'm thinking about you, buddy, and everything's going to pull great, man.
Well, it will be good. It's been 7 years of this stuff back and forth. This is the last one. Everything's over. Cancer's gone. All the complications gone. This is actually just a meshing that goes over the abdomen. And I said, well, make it nice and tight. Make it swimsuit model, good. And
men's health.
Men's health.
Cover, please.
And we'll be good. Yeah, we'll be all good. Trust me. Well, you'll see me at the stadium. I'm definitely, I'll be at these games. As soon as I'm back to 100%, you expect to see me walking around somewhere on that field.
Well, we're thinking about you, buddy.
Awesome. I appreciate that. Thanks, Orlondo.
All right. Bye for now, guys.
Okay. Bye-bye.